Today's lesson is a continuation of the previous lesson. We are still talking about perpendicular lines. Today we're going to be talking about the distance from a point to a line. So the distance from a point to a line is the length of the perpendicular segment from the point to the line. It's the length of the perpendicular segment from the point to the line. So in my picture here, the length of AD is going to be the distance from point A to line BC. Now the reason it has to be perpendicular is because if I drew other lines there, they could be all different lengths and it would vary and I'd never know exactly what the distance was because they would all be different. But there's only one line that's perpendicular that goes through that point, and so that will always be the same. It will always be consistent. So the first thing we want to do when we're given a graph and we have to find the distance is we need to find the perpendicular slope. So first I have to find my original slope to find out what the perpendicular slope is. So I see in my picture here I'm going down 4 and 1, 2, 3 over 6. So my original slope is negative 4 over 6, which is negative 2/3. So my perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. So it's going to be positive, and it's going to be 3 over 2. And that's my rise over my run. Now I'm going to use those numbers to go from point A. I'm going to go up 3 and over 2. And I find the point where they intersect. So now I have my perpendicular line. Now I have to find the distance between those two. So I can use the Pythagorean theorem because I've already got a right triangle right here. And so x squared is going to equal, if I call this x, is going to equal 3 squared plus 2 squared. And so that's 9 plus 4. That means x squared is equal to 13, and so x would equal the square root of 13. So the distance from point A to the line is the square root of 13. Okay, here's another example. We're going to find the distance from negative 2, 1 to the line y equals x minus 5. And that line wasn't supposed to be there already, so pretend it wasn't. Okay, so first of all, we do have to graph the line. And so I'm going to start at negative 5 on the y-axis. Whoops, I also have a pen that you can see. And then I'm going to go up 1 over 1 to draw the line. So there's my line, y equals x minus 5. So the slope of that line is 1, so that means my perpendicular slope is going to be negative 1. So I graph the point, negative 2, positive 1, right here, and I use my slope of negative 1. I go down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, until I intersect. So there's my perpendicular line. So I need to find the distance from negative 2, 1 to 2, negative 3. And so, again, since it's already on a graph, I might as well use the right triangle that I have right here. That's 4 and that's 4. And so if I call that x, x squared is going to equal 4 squared plus 4 squared, which is 16 plus 16. That means x squared is equal to 32. So if I take the square root of both sides, this 32 is the same as 16 times 2. So in simplified form, x is going to equal 4 root 2 units. All right. Now you might have to use this to actually find the distance between parallel lines, but the steps are very similar. So the first thing we're going to do is graph the two lines. So I've got y equals 2x plus 8. So I go to a positive 8. It's a slope of positive 2, so that means up 2 over 1, or of course you can go backwards to figure it out that way also. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the line here. Okay, and then the second line is at positive 3, same slope, up 2 over 1. So I can draw that line. Okay, so there are my parallel lines. So now, what is the slope of that line? So we already know that it's 2. So the perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. So we flip it over and make it negative. So it's negative 1/2. Then I just choose a random point that I know is on the graph. So I'm going to choose the point 0.8. I'm going to use my -1 for my rise, positive 2 for my slope, and get another point here. So the distance between those two lines is the length of that side, the length of that perpendicular segment. So x squared is going to equal 1 squared plus 2 squared, which is 1 plus 4, or 5. Therefore, x equals the square root of 5 units. This concludes the video. Thank you.